Welcome back to the Parks and Bennis podcast, and believe it or not, we're halfway through the Premier League season. Somehow, some teams have played about 10 games, some have played about 30. We don't know anymore, but we're at the midway point, and at this point, we're going to do our Premier League teams of the season so far. We're going to discuss Frank Lampard's departure at Chelsea and Thomas Tuchel's imminent arrival. And we'll also, when we talk about the Premier League team of the season so far, I think we'll have a quick tally up of who our managers of the season's been so far. And Aaron didn't even know he was thinking about doing that, but I've just told him now that we're going to be doing that. And I think we'll start off by talking about Frank Lampard's departure as Chelsea manager and Thomas Tuchel's imminent arrival. What are your thoughts on that as a start? I'll give mine in a minute, but I just want to hear your thoughts.
I think the departure is probably inevitable, if we're being honest. I personally would say that it's probably a few months too late. I don't think it was ever really working out. I said right from the start that Lampard wouldn't be good enough for Chelsea. I think he's got the potential to be a good manager, but it was definitely too soon for him to join Chelsea. It was probably just a sentimental move for both sides. And I do think it was inevitable that he would lose his job. I think they're still ninth in the league. They haven't been playing that well, especially considering all the signings that they made in the summer. They got the likes of Havertz and Werner, among many others. You know, there was a lot of excitement going into the season, and they've massively underperformed. There's a good chance that had Lampard there, they would finish outside the top four, which is not good enough. So yeah, I think, like I said, I think inevitable is the word. It's not really surprising. It might be a bit of a blow for Chelsea fans who, again, sentimental more than anything. You know, I'm sure a lot of Chelsea fans would have loved to see Lampard do well as a manager, but ultimately, I don't think it's ever going to work out.
Yeah, for me, I said from the start I didn't think it was a good appointment because I felt like Chelsea have for years now. We've had since Roman Abramovich just took over. I've had a win now culture, so it's a must win. So if you don't win, you get sacked. And even if you've won, you don't win again, you get sacked. I think most notable sacking was the incredibly harsh sacking of Carlo Ancelotti after finishing second and winning the FA Cup, I think, after he won the league. And so Conte was sacked after he told a few home truths about the recruitment of like Danny Drinkwater and whatnot. Mourinho was sacked, even the fact that he's a legend for what he did there. Sarri was sacked after they win the Europa League. So good managers have been sacked after winning and stuff. So I thought Lampard, a manager who's trying out for the first time, I just didn't think it was a good fit for him. If he was a young manager who had never had any association to a club like Chelsea, you wouldn't necessarily give him the Chelsea job because of that. So I think the fact that he played there shouldn't really affect his decision as a manager, because management's completely different to playing. So I feel like it was always never going to work out for him long term. There's a long term option for him. I think as a coach, I think he needs to either have a break and go into a job where he is likely to, in a league or in a team that is going to dominate easily, because I think that's what his style is. It's possession-based football, where he's played at Derby and Chelsea. I think maybe, I don't know, a championship job or in the Scottish Premier League or even abroad somewhere. I think he should just go and do a job somewhere and maybe come out of it with a better reputation. He can get another job in the Premier League maybe, but I just don't think it worked out. I don't think he got the best out of some of his players. I think some of the players who he trusted and relied on this season have been sort of set aside for the talent that he bought in the summer, but he doesn't really know how to get the best out of them. I just don't think he's a good enough coach to manage them Chelsea players, and I think they're falling down the league. I think they're below David Moyes' West Ham. They're quite away. They're below us as well. I think Villa, if they win a couple of games in hand here and there, they go above them comfortably. Southampton are around them, so I just don't think it's worked out for them, and I think it's the right decision to let Lampard go. With that saying, I'm not a massive fan of Thomas Tuchel. I think he's a bit overrated. He did well to get PSG to the Champions League final, but he's quite an abrasive personality at a club where it doesn't really take to them types of managers trying to call the shots. I think Thomas Tuchel has sacked in November of 2021 or written all over him personally.
Yeah, I think I said that Thomas Tuchel should go to Chelsea in one of the last podcasts actually, but I know I'm not a massive expert on him. From what I've read and what I've heard, I have seen a lot of criticism for this decision whenever it's announced. I think he should do better than Lampard. I wouldn't be shocked to see them finish in the top four, but then it's a matter of consistency. Can they keep it up and do the same next year, finish comfortably in the top four, and then go from there? Or could it have, like you say, sacked in November? Is it that sort of appointment? So it's interesting to see how Tuchel will do. He did do well at PSG. I believe he did well at Dortmund, but I'm not certain on that. I do think it will probably be a positive move compared to Lampard. I've heard that Tuchel could also be given a 6-month deal, and then they go after Leipzig's coach. His name escapes me.
Who's coach? Which coach?
Leipzig.
Nagelsmann.
That's the one. Yeah, I've heard that he could go to Chelsea, or they'll offer him a job at the end of the season. So that's one to watch. But
that would surprise me, to be honest, if they were giving Tuchel the job.
Yeah, I do think that Nagelsmann will probably stay at Leipzig. Definitely don't think he'll go to Chelsea. But Tuchel, I do think Tuchel will improve Chelsea. It's just a matter of consistency and can they keep it going forward.
For me, what I would have done anyway, I think I've said this for a long time now that Chelsea should try and get Diego Simeone in as manager because I think he wins stuff. I think he would benefit himself but from leaving Atletico at the end of the season, going to Chelsea, winning stuff there, and then if he was sacked after 2 years, like I don't know, Mourinho or Conte or Ancelotti, he could go around winning stuff for other clubs and it wouldn't affect him. I think that would have been a better shout. I think Max Allegri as well, I'm a fan of. I think he'd done a good job, but I think at the end of the day, it's all a matter of backing Thomas Tuchel now via Chelsea and seeing if he can do well. Like I said, I'm not a huge fan of Tuchel's, but I think he's a better manager than Lampard, and I think he will improve them. I just don't know if it will be enough to close the gap on United, City, and Liverpool as a sort of a collective sort of group of 3 teams. I don't know if he can get them in that group yet, but we'll just see. That being said, I think we're moving on to do our teams of the season. We've had a nightmare with formations, so bear with us. We'll start with the goalkeeping situation. I'll start off by doing mine, and then I'll let Aaron discuss his. My goalkeeper is Emi Martinez from Aston Villa. I think he's been a great signing for them. I think last season Aston Villa had a real bad situation with goalkeepers. I think Tom Meakin got injured early on, who I'm a fan of, but I just don't think he could stay fit, and he never got back in the team or anything. I think Pepe Reina was there for a bit when he Jed Steele was in goal at some point. I think they just had really bad goalkeepers, and I think that affected them ultimately. I think with Emi Martinez, he's been a real consistent goalkeeper. He's been really good. So he would be my shout. I think word and dispatches, though, for the ever underrated Nick Pope, because I think he's been brilliant for Burnley. I think really good goalkeeper. And Sam Johnson, too, at West Brom. I think they would be my 3 choices personally, but I think I'll just go Emi Martinez.
Yeah, I'd agree with Emi Martinez as well. He's got the second most clean sheets in the league, and they've only conceded 18 goals this season. Obviously, a lot of credit will have to go to Dean Smith and the bit of defence, but a very key part of that has been the arrival of Emi Martinez. He came out of the wilderness after lockdown at Arsenal. He proved that he should be playing more games during Brent Lerner's injury, and he got a deserved move to get first team football in the summer. I think he's a fantastic goalkeeper, definitely one of the best outside the big 6, and he's definitely been my goalkeeper of the season.
Yeah, I would agree. I think it's almost a clear choice. I think Sam Johnson's been very good at West Brom too as well. I think he's had some ridiculous games, and Nick Pope's really good as well for what he does. I think obviously there's good keepers in the league, but I would just go for him on the sort of the biggest improvement on the team, and I think that is Martinez personally. Right back, I've personally gone for James Justin of Leicester. I think he's been really, really good this season. I think Pereira isn't playing or injured or whatever, and I just don't think they've missed him at all with James Justin playing. I think he's been really good. I think defensively, I think he's been good. I think going forward, he's provided just as much as Pereira. I think signing from Luton's been really, really. He did come from Luton, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's been a really good sign. I think you could discuss Kyle Walker maybe or Vladimir Kufal, but I would just go for James Justin of Leicester personally.
Yeah, to keep it different, I'll go for Vladimir Kufal. I do think James Justin's been very good this season, but I think Kufal's been a very important acquisition by West Ham. Their defence was clearly a problem going into the season, and they strengthened the right back with Kufal. There isn't really much to say that he's certainly improved them. They've only conceded 22 goals this season. They sit seventh in the league, and it's. I think you can argue that signing a right back such as Kufal has been an important part of that. Obviously when Jeremy Ngakia left them in the summer for Watford, they had Ben Johnson and Ryan Fredericks who are in and out of the team. It was important that they got that right back nailed down, and I think they've definitely done that with Vladimir Kufal.
Yeah, I really like Kufal. I think he's been one of the signings of the season for me, actually. I think he's done a really solid job. He's got a good cross on him. He's really good defensively. I think he's a really good player. I can't argue if you're going for Kufal at all.
I have just seen a name that I completely forgot about, and that's Matty Cash.
Matty Cash, yeah, another one maybe. I was thinking of him before, but I don't know. I've just been really impressed with Justin personally.
Yeah, I just completely forgot about Matty Cash. I'm being honest. He's been very good. I think I'd probably say it's between Cash and Kufal.
Yeah, fair enough. I would just go for Justin. Yeah, that would be my choice personally. But I think it's an area where there hasn't been a clear sort of standout number one this year. Would you agree?
Yeah, I would. I'd probably have said Lamptey to shout if he hadn't got injured. He was looking very good at the start of the season, but I definitely wouldn't say there's been a standout.
I can't have Brighton playing the team of the season.
You're lucky he got injured
then. Yeah, my choice would be James Justin though.
Yeah, I think that's definitely fair.
Yeah, moving on to centre backs. My first centre back is going to be I'm a big fan of this bloke and he's done brilliant this season, Michael Keane.
Yeah, I think Michael Keane's definitely a shot. I haven't gone with him. I've gone with Yannick Vestergaard. I think his improvement's been massive compared to last season. I thought he's very robust, very immobile last season, and I think the improvement. I know he's been injured recently, but he's massively improved Southampton's defence. I just think they signed someone in the summer. I can't remember his name, but the fact that they signed a centre back in the summer showed that was a weakness for them. But Vestergaard stepped up whenever he played this season.
Yeah, I mean, I can't argue with Yannick Vestergaard's inclusion. I think he's been really good for Southampton. I wonder if someone would have took a chance on him being the best at Liverpool, maybe. I don't know, but I really like him, but I can't not include Michael Keane in this team because Michael Keane's been incredible. I think every year at Everton, I feel like he's got better. And I think this season, I think he's probably been his best form. I would probably even say better than his days at Burnley because he's just been so good. I think, like playing the ball out from the back, I think he plays through the lines really well. Defensively, I think put him on the edge of the box, and he's a really, really good defender. I do still have some sort of minor worries about him defending on the halfway line and that, but we don't really play like that, so you can only judge him on how he's played in the system. But I think he's been really, really good. No argue, Michael Keane. My other centre-back would be Ruben Dias of Man City because I think he's improved their defence massively. I could not include him because Man City would look so open last season, in my opinion. he's come in this season. He's given them a bit of sort of solidity at the back, and he's done really well. I think if I was going to say honourable mentions, I think Vestergaard would be one. Another one would be Angelo Bonner from West Ham, who's done really, really well there. I think Ben Mee at Burnley, I think, again, been brilliant. I think since he's come into the team, replacing Kevin Long, I think he kept 6 clean sheets in as many, pretty much most of the games he played, apart from their annual 5-0 defeat at Man City. But yeah, for me, it would be Keane Diaz.
Yeah, I agree with Ruben Diaz. You covered it there. I think he's been a very important signing. Again, one of the signings of the season, because, like you say, they were very open last season and in need of an upgrade in that position. They signed Ake, and people thought that he was going to be the answer, which I didn't actually think he was. But then they got Diaz, which was crucial.
I forgot he signed Ake.
Yeah, exactly. So my 2 cents was Vestergaard and Diaz, and 2 honourable mentions for me is John Stones, who's looked much improved alongside Diaz. I've gone with Vestergaard to keep it different, but John Stones is definitely a shout, and Wesley Fofana at Leicester has been very good as well.
I'm not going to say John Stones.
Of course not.
Yeah, but Fofana's a good shout as well. I think he's been really good for Leicester. I think I've been for a long time a real huge fan of Leicester's recruitment. I think they do get a spot on every time, so no surprise to me at all that you include Fofana. Left back, who would be your shout for the left back position?
If I'm being totally honest, it was difficult for me to choose a left back because I think that's probably been a bit of a weak position this year for most teams. But I've got a João Cancelo. Similarly to centre back last season, the Man City left back was a real weakness. They had Benjamin Mendy and Zinchenko, who couldn't really nail a place in the team. Cancelo's seems to have done that. He's looked a lot better than last season, and overall, he's been part of a much improved Manchester City defence.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I would. I've got a couple of thoughts going around my head at the moment, because it would, for me, the natural sort of choice for this would be Luca Dean, because he was so good before his injury, but he got injured, so I feel like it's difficult to include someone who's injured. So I can't go for Luca Dean, unfortunately. I think Kieran Tierney's been playing well of late, but I don't think he's been in the team the whole season, and Arsenal have been really poor, so I feel like I can't really include him in the team. I think Aaron Cresswell at West Ham has been really good, but I mean, I can see people shouting me down right now for including Aaron Cresswell, but I think he's been really, really good. But I would. Luke Shaw has been really good of late on Man U, but for me, João Cancelo would be mine as well. I think he's been really good. I think Pep likes centre left backs who are right-footed for some reason. They're much better than the actual left-footed left backs he seems to play. But yeah, it would be João Cancelo for me. Also, I would echo everything you said.
I think an honourable mention could be James Justin, who I think has played left back a bit. At right back, actually, someone I forgot is Carl Walker-Peters of Southampton.
Yeah. And for the last month or so as well, I would give a shout out to Ben Godfrey, who's been playing there and doing really well. I couldn't include him because, again, it's the full season. And I think I've been impressed with Sergio Reguilón at times at Tottenham as well. But I would just go for João Cancelo.
Yeah.
Moving on to, you're doing 4-3-3, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, so my holding midfielder has to be, for me, and I'm a huge fan of his, Thomas Souček at West Ham. I think there'll be a lot more glamorous names, maybe, I think, in terms of bigger teams with better sort of players playing in that position. But I think Thomas Souček has been unbelievable at West Ham. I think he's a threat in the penalty box. He's a good tackler, good player. I think for as much as I do like Declan Rice, and I think he's a good player. I think Thomas Souček's an even better player, and I think for me he gets in my team because I think he's been really, really good. I think credit to David Moyes for his fantastic recruitment so far at West Ham, but I think that's sort of epitomised in his recruitment of Thomas Souček, who's really, really good. I think Alan was really good before his injury. I think obviously Decore's been there as well. I think Fabinho at Liverpool's been really good this season as well, albeit mostly a centre back. But my choice would be Thomas Souček.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Souček as well. Whenever I watch West Ham, I always think he's better than Rice. I swear he scores every single week.
Yeah,
so
ends up with 6 goals a season, but scores every week.
Yeah. So Souček's a very good shout. I've gone with Pierre-Emile Højbjerg, however, as Spurs. I think you'll struggle to find a better deal than Højbjerg to Spurs with Kyle Walker-Peters going the other way to Southampton. Both teams won in that sense. I think Højbjerg's been fantastic. I liked him last season for Southampton, or to be honest, for most of his time at Southampton, but I think he's gone up a level this year. He suits that holding midfield perfectly with Jose Mourinho's side, and he lets the likes of Ndombele. His role gives the likes of Ndombele the freedom to attack and to create chances. I think he's been crucial to Spurs this season.
Yeah, we were linked with Højbjerg before we got Alan. I think Højbjerg chose Tottenham, and I think we got Alan. I think even though Alan's been injured a few weeks, I wouldn't say we've lost from the situation at all, because I think Alan's been brilliant for us. I think he's put in a lot of really good performances for us this season. Obviously, Carlo trusts them a lot. But yeah, I can totally understand you including Højbjerg. I think he had a really bad game against us in the first game of the season when we beat them 1-0. But since then, he's been really, really good, I think. Also, I think I'd give a shout out to the ever consistent Wilfred Ndidi at Leicester, who always does a good job for Leicester. I think John McGinn as well for Aston Villa when he's played has been really good as well. But I would just go for Thomas Souček. As for our other midfielders, the first one I would include. People think this team's a bit expansive for me, including 2 attacking midfielders, but you've got to get them all in, haven't you? My first one would be Bruno Fernandez. I think he single-handedly got Man United top of the league, in my opinion. I think he's had a real big impact on them. He scores important goals. He steps up, and obviously people call him a set-piece merchant or whatever they want to call him, but I think he's a really good player. And he has a disappointing game against Liverpool the other week, but he's really quality, and I'm a huge fan of Bruno Fernandez. I think people call him dirty as well, and he somehow evades the yellow cards from week to week, but I'm a big fan of his, so he had to be in it for me. And my other, well, I'll let you include your first one.
I think Bruno Fernandez as well was the clear shot for this position. People love to make fun of him, call him a penalty merchant and all that. And yeah, in terms of goal scoring, he might be a bit of a penalty merchant, but I don't think you can deny his all-round game is superb. He's easily one of the best midfielders, if not the best midfielder in the Premier League. It's another example of the Jose scouting network, I should add. And he deserved this move to Man United. He was superb for Sporting. It's nearly been a year since he signed, and he's been absolutely fantastic. So he's in my midfield team of the season. My other midfielder would have to be Jack Grealish, who I believe you agree with. And
yeah, Jack Grealish is a mine as well.
He's been superb since Villa's promotion, really, in the Premier League. He is Villa. He is so integral to that system. If they were to lose Grealish, then it's difficult to see even Villa staying up. He's just that important. He creates chances, he scores goals, and it's difficult to find many better midfielders, creative midfielders, definitely in the league.
Yeah, but I've also got Jack Grealish in my team because he's so good. I think for me it was between Jack Grealish and James Rodriguez for this position, but I have gone for Jack Grealish on the basis he's played the more games. I think James Rodriguez has also been really, really good at us, and yeah, if he played more games, I probably would have edged for him in this team, but I've got to go for Jack Grealish because I think he's been so important for Aston Villa. So yeah, we both agree on Fernandez and Jack Grealish.
I think some honourable mentions is Tanguy Ndombele at Spurs. Like I said, James Rodriguez. There's been a few good midfielders. I think Grealish and Bruno probably clear. I think James Maddison's definitely very good in recent weeks as well. Phil Foden is another. But yeah, for me, Bruno Fernandez and Jack Greenish are the clear winners for this team this season.
Yeah, no arguments there. In terms of our front three, off the right, I've gone for Mohamed Salah.
Yeah.
Liverpool have had a really difficult season, but he's really good. I think he scores big goals. He's just a really good player, and I think he's an underrated player as well, because I think if he's someone people like to sort of, I don't know, pour scorn over at times, but I'm unsure why, to be honest, because I think he's a good player. Yeah, so he would be mine. Who would be yours?
I agree with Mo Salah. I don't think there's any argument there. Top scorer in the league. Again, as always, very, very, very important to the way Liverpool play. Again, I don't think there's any arguments for the inclusion of Mo Salah.
Yeah. Can you think of anyone else maybe to play off that side? I mean, no, I can't really think of anyone else who's reached his levels.
I can think of wingers in general. I can think of wingers in general to go there, but I think Mo Salah's just going to step above everyone else. Maybe Moyes is a shout.
Maybe, yeah. I'll just go for Salah because I think he's been the best player in that position. Off the left, I've gone for Heung-min Son. I think really important player for Tottenham. He's really good. I think he's someone else who people don't really like, I think, mostly because of that tackle on Andre Gomez, but take that away from him. I think he's a really good player. I think he really links up well with Harry Kane. Really good in front of goal, scores important goals, drags Tottenham off the pitch with his pace at times, and he's really impressive.
Yeah, it's another we agree on. I think Heung-min Son is probably, I think, arguably his best season in a Spurs shirt thus far. The way he links up with Harry Kane's been fantastic. He's very fun to watch. The amount of goals, the amount of goal contributions that those two good players get has been on another level. I think he's probably gone up a level this season. Honourable mentions, I'd say Wilfried Zaha's been improved this season. Harvey Barnes has been very, very good. Diogo Jota in Spurs, I think, has looked very good. But I think Heung-min Son is clear for this position because he's just been so good this year and much improved compared to the previous years. I think it's just the fact he's gone up a level.
Yeah, I think also for me, I think in terms of an honourable mention, he wouldn't make this team, but I think Ebe has been really good at Crystal Palace as well. Yeah, I think he's been really good. He wouldn't make the team because I think there's been all them who've said been better, but I think he deserves a lot of credit this season for how he's played. And yeah, it would be Son for me though. I think even maybe a shout for Marcus Rashford. Some of his performances this season have been really good.
Marcus Rashford, I forgot about him. Yeah, I think there's also you've got Bukayo Saka, Pedro Neto has looked quite good.
Yeah, I wouldn't argue with any of them. I think they've all been really good. As for strikers, who would be your shout?
I'll get the honourable mention out of the way because I know you've included him. Dominic Carvalho has been superb this year. Similarly to Son, he's gone up a level, but on a much higher level. He started off a couple of seasons ago not really scoring goals, but having his general play being okay. He improved last year. I can't remember how many goals he scored, but he looked very good. And he's already got 11 goals this year. No penalty goals as well. So yeah, Calvert-Lewin in any other scenario would be clear for the team of the season. But unfortunately, he has to compete with Harry Kane, who it's just been again on another level this year. I think he probably wasn't as good as he's capable of last year. I don't know how many goals he scored, but he's the joint second top scorer with Son. Similarly with those two, the way they link up is very fun to watch. They get so many goal contributions. The way his role is sort of developed to suit his style, the way he drops deep, he's become more of a creator as well as a goal scorer, and he should become a much better all-round striker. So for me, it's clear between Harry Kane and Calvert-Lewin.
All right, hear me out. Okay, Harry Kane has been brilliant, and he's a world-class striker, and said so for a long time. He's added to his game this season and has improved. So I'm finding it really difficult to argue with Harry Kane. So I can't argue at all. but I have to include Dominic Carvalho in this because I think he's been so good. I just think he deserves this kind of recognition to be in this kind of conversation because he's been so good. I think for a while, his overall play as a striker has been really good. He just hasn't been getting into the areas in the box to score goals. I think there's that infamous sort of picture when we played Aston Villa a couple of years ago and the whole goal was gaping and he put it wide. I think since Carlo Ancelotti's coming in, he's really improved him by just making sure he gets in the right position, one-touch finishing, that kind of stuff. I'm a huge fan of his and I can't not include him. So I've gone for Dominic Carvalho up front. I think people say it has to be Kane, but I think Carvalho deserves this kind of recognition. So I've gone for Carvalho.
Yeah, I mentioned it. I can't have any argument. I just think Harry Kane has just been on another level, and if it weren't for Kane, it would be clearly Carvalho.
Yeah, can you think of anyone else who can maybe get in the picture? I can't really.
Not really. I mean, maybe Vardy because he's up there for.
He always is.
But I don't think he's been as good as Calvert-Lewin or Kane. Danny Ings maybe, but he's not been as good as last year. Perhaps been very good still. I just think it's clear between Kane and Calvert-Lewin.
Yeah, I completely agree. So I will rerun my team now, and then we'll move on to managers of the season, which Aaron will have to improvise because I forgot to tell him we were doing. In goal, I've got Emi Martinez. Right back, I've got James Justin. Centre backs, Michael Keane and Ruben Dias. Left back, João Cancelo. Midfield, Thomas Souček, Bruno Fernandez and Jack Grealish. Off the left, Heung-min Son. Off the right, Mo Salah. And in front, Dominic Carvalho. Aaron,
I've got Emi Martinez in goal. Defensive, Vladimir Kufal, Vestergaard, Ruben Dias, João Cancelo. Midfield of Pierre-Emile Højbjerg, Bruno Fernandez, Jack Grealish, and an attack of Mo Salah, Harry Kane, and Heung-min Son.
Amazing. So if you disagree, be sure to at any of us on Twitter and just give us hell over it. I had a Liverpool fan this weekend saying I look like Coronation Street characters, so I can pretty much take anything at the moment. Liverpool fans who sit in the mother's back room watching the game. So let them keep coming at me because I'm really uninterested in anything they've got to say about the game. But yeah, the Hodgson years. It still gets me now, and it's been 2 days. But yeah,
I remember saying that. That was a right laugh.
The Hodgson years of 6 months. Yeah, we've had a really tough, haven't we? I mean, I wish our worst manager ever was Roy Hodgson. I think Aaron would disagree. He wishes the worst Watford manager ever was Roy Hodgson too. Because we both had absolute stinkers. Yeah, so we'll move on quickly from that. Just stop. I thought I'd have to bring it up to moan. So be free to debate with us if you bump into us on Twitter or anything. But we've even given honourable mention, so you can tell we've really put a lot of thought into our teams of the season so far. We will move on to managers of the season now, and we'll both give a name and then we'll start talking about honourable mentions. I think we'll mention 3 or 4 each, but who would be your number one so far? I've got mine, and it comes from a slightly biased position, but who would be yours?
As much as it totally pains me to say, I'm going with Dean Smith.
Yeah, Dean Smith. Right, okay, we'll debate this much further in a minute. My choice, and shoot me down, my choice is Carlo Ancelotti.
I mean, Everton are in the top 6 as it stands, and
17 games played as well, by the way.
I don't think there's a bunch of honorable mentions. I wouldn't say there's a clear winner. Certainly not so far. So Ancelotti probably would be a fair shout. Yeah,
I think for me, if you ask me, the Premier League normally give 5 at the end of the season. I think if it ended now, the 5 for me would be Carlo Ancelotti, Dean Smith, David Moyes, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and Ralph Hasenhüttl.
Yeah, I'd probably say so. Obviously, I've gone with Dean Smith. I think you've got Ancelotti, David Moyes, mainly from the improvement compared to previous seasons for those clubs. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and Ralph Hasenhüttl, who everyone knows, who if you've spoken to me knows I'm a massive fan of. I haven't gone with the golden boy Marcelo Bielsa. As good as he's been, he's not quite manager of the season standards.
Well, Luke McKenzie will have him. He'll have Graham Potter. He'll have them all. He's probably still got Mauricio Pellegrino because he played 600 passes on the Southampton. I mean, it's up to Luke. I think everyone's right to their own opinion, but it's definitely not Marcelo Bielsa. As much as he's doing well, good work at Leeds, he does not beat any of them 5 managers into the top 5 for me. Other mentions, maybe, I think Pep. No, I can't say Pep the second. I'm really struggling apart from that.
There aren't many. I suppose to an extent you can maybe say Sean Dyche, considering their starts of the season and the summer they had. Maybe Scott Parker if he keeps filling up. Probably not in a team of the season so far. I think the 5 we said are probably the clear names with a few possible exceptions.
Maybe I'm interested. You said Sean Dyche. I think if Burnley finished top 12 or 13, which they could go on a run, if they finished comfortably away from the relegation zone and still don't buy anyone, I think that's a strong shout. But
yeah,
for me,
I'd say probably Sean Dyche pulled up for manager of the season, maybe a nomination.
Maybe if he, but I still think them 5 for me would be my 5.
Yeah, I probably agree.
I mean, he should have won it last season, if we're being honest, but we're on this season. I think they'll be my 5.
Yeah, I'd probably agree with those 5. My top name is Dean Smith, though.
You're killing.
Reason being, and I will explain it. Last season, as a fan of one of the relegated clubs, I was very invested in Villa's results and their performances, along with Bournemouth and West Ham, of course. And all 4 of those teams were absolutely horrific throughout the entire season. I don't recall any moments when I had no faith that we could. Obviously, this was after Nigel Pearson came in and he sorted us out. I don't remember any real moment until the final couple of games where I really had no faith that we couldn't stay up. And that isn't because of us playing well or anything like that. It's just because of how poor those teams were. And obviously, fast forward to now, Watford and Bournemouth are both, I know both sides are in the top 6, but if we're being honest, both sides haven't been too good in terms of their performances. I know a lot of Bournemouth fans have complained about Jason Tindall, and obviously Vladimirovic lost his job early on in the season. So it's not gone amazingly for those 2 sides, but if you compare that to the 2 other sides who did stay up, you've got David Moyes' West Ham, who currently sits 7th, and Dean Smith's Aston Villa, who sit 8th, with 2 games in hand.
And you've got Graham Potter's Brian, who are still in amongst them.
I'm not going to comment on Graham Potter. I refuse. Back to Dean Smith, though. He's just. I think it's important to note that the recruitment was superb in the summer. They replaced a lot of their poorer players. They've got Ollie Watkins up front now, Martinez in goal. They kept Grealish. McGinn's come back from injury. They got Matty Cash right back. Their recruitment was very, very good in the summer, and I don't think they will, but I wouldn't actually be surprised if Villa managed to finish in Europe this season.
I wouldn't either.
So that's why for me, certainly so far, Dean Smith would be my manager of the season.
I can't argue with that. For me, it would be Carlo Ancelotti. This comes from a very biased place, as you probably can tell, but I've looked at Everton for so many years now, and they've always been the team. These will make the top 4, the top 6, and they've never done it. But they're kind of doing it, and for me, that deserves a great deal of credit. That when he took over Everton, I'm not sure. I think we were below Villa when he took over Everton, or maybe in and around them at least, and we were in and around West Ham as well. So when he took over us, not only was we in and around them, we got away from them quicker than because they stayed in the battle. We got away from it. Not only did he get us away from it, he got us into the top 6 this season. So I think the job he's done is extraordinary. I think he's improved Michael Keane, Alex Iwobi, Dominic Carvalho, and Yerry Mina. He comes from a biased place, but I think he's definitely worth a shout.
Yeah, it's the teams in 6th, 7th, and 8th, Everton, West Ham, Villa, as well as Southampton, who currently sit 10th. I'd probably say those 4 are my top 4 contenders for manager of the season. Mainly from the improvements from previous seasons. You've got all 4 of those teams who could be in contention currently are in contention of finishing in a European place. Obviously, I highly doubt all of them will, but it's looking very good for those sides, and all credit has to go to the managers.
For me, though, I think as much as I said Dean Smith, he would be third. My second one would be David Moyes. I think David Moyes has done an incredible job because I not had any money. He's come in. The owners, we know what their owners are like. The fans aren't really behind David Moyes. The players, I mean, they've had a lot of players who cast off a lot of them really, and he's got a tune out of them. And in the top 7, if they finished in Europe this season, that'd be an incredible job.
Yeah, I do agree. The only reason I don't go David Moyes as my top contender is because I know in my final prediction I said West Ham would go down over Villa, but I thought that West Ham had a slightly better team than Villa. I thought certainly last season West Ham had the players to stay up. Obviously, Villa's recruitment has played a big part in why they're playing like they are now. And you know, I would argue that Villa probably have a better team on paper in terms of their starting 11. But I think David Moyes is a totally valid shout. Like I said, the only reason I haven't gone with David Moyes on my top contenders is because I think they already had a good enough team. But I think those two are definitely the top 2 contenders, as well as Carlo Ancelotti. Certainly depending on how the season goes, but those are certainly my top 3.
Yeah, Ralph as well deserves huge credit.
Yeah,
I think, but their 10th, he finished 11th last season, so I would refrain from putting them in my top 3 because I think they're in around where they were. But again, really great job.
Yeah, and obviously, you know, Southampton are currently they're currently 3 points off 7th or 6th even, just a few points off top 4. So you know, obviously their position is 10th, and that's not too far where they were last season, but they're much improved. Certainly when you consider where they were around Christmas or around that period where they were in a relegation battle. They're looking superb at the moment, and I think they'll definitely finish near Europe.
Yeah, agree. I think and then Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, I think he was getting sacked a few months ago, but he's done really well, to be fair to him.
Yeah, I credit to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. You know, they're top of the league for a reason. However, I don't put him in my top 4 because whenever I've seen Man United play, I've not been too impressed. I think they've been lucky at times. They're kind of similar to Watford in some ways, in my opinion, in that they're not playing too well, but they're grinding out results.
Bit of a fair for Watford and Man United.
Yeah. I've seen Watford. I've seen some people say Watford are the Man United of the Championship. You know, a lucky side that aren't playing too well, getting a lot of penalties, etc. And you know, I do think it's true. They're top of the league for a reason, United, and they're a good side. They've been good under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, but I don't think that they've been amazing, and I think they could be playing better. So I think Solskjaer probably makes my top 5 for the sole reason he's got them top of the league, but it doesn't make my top 4 because I don't actually think they've been playing that well.
I would agree, but I think the order I would have my top 5 in at the moment would be Carlo Ancelotti, David Moyes, Dean Smith, Ralph Hasenhuttl, and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer.
Yeah, I can agree with the names. My top 5 would be Dean Smith, David Moyes, Carlo Ancelotti, Ralph Hasenhuttl, and then Ole Gunnar Solskjaer.
Yeah, I can't argue. I think I come from a slightly more biased place than you do. But
I think that's fair.
Yeah. There's one big caveat to all of this, and this gets barnstormed completely, and it's ripped up and starts again if Sam Allardyce keeps West Brom in the Premier League.
I'm not having that. West Brom. I like West Brom, but they can't be staying up with that team.
No, it's a really poor team. If he keeps them up, wow, manager of the decade.
Yeah.
I mean, but I think we'll just leave it there. I think there's a big second half of the season to come, but we'll continue these podcasts to sort of review. I think we've gone through every mental trauma in this podcast so far this season, of delight, of just general frustration or whatever. So we'll keep up with these just to keep charting the season. But I think if you've got any kinds of suggestions on anything else we should cover individually, then let us know and we'll be sure to consider it. But thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.